Imagine holding a message written more than 4,000 years ago. It's small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, and nobody alive can read it. This tiny stone seal was carved around 4,000 years ago by people living in one of the world's greatest civilizations. Across the top are six strange symbols. Below them stands a mysterious unicorn like animal. For more than a century, archaeologists, historians, linguists, mathematicians, and even artificial intelligence have tried to understand those symbols. They've failed. Not one complete sentence has ever been translated. Not one king's name, not one poem, not one law, nothing. And this wasn't some forgotten tribe hidden in the mountains. These people built enormous cities, while ancient Egypt was raising pyramids and Mesopotamia was inventing writing. Their streets were planned. Their drainage systems were centuries ahead of many later civilizations. They traded with lands hundreds of kilometers away. We know how they lived, we know what they built, we know what they traded, but we still don't know what they wrote. Imagine discovering an entire library, only to realize every single book inside is locked forever. That is the mystery of the Indus Valley script. And in 2025, the Tamil Nadu government offered a reward of 1 million US dollars to anyone who could finally decode it. So, why has nobody managed to solve one of history's greatest puzzles? More than 5,000 years ago, a civilization flourished across what is now Pakistan and northwestern India. Today, we call it the Indus Valley Civilization. At its height, it covered nearly 1 million square kilometers. That made it one of the largest civilizations on Earth. Its greatest cities were Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Unlike many ancient cities that grew randomly over centuries, these were carefully planned. Wide streets crossed each other almost perfectly. Houses were built using standardized baked bricks. Many homes even had their own bathrooms connected to underground drainage systems. Think about that for a moment. 4,000 years ago, people were living in cities with organized sanitation, while much of the world still lived in small farming villages. Archaeologists have found public wells, granaries, workshops, weights that followed standardized measurements, and evidence of long distance trade reaching Mesopotamia and the Persian Gulf. Everything suggests a highly organized society. Yet, something is missing. Egypt left behind temples covered with stories. Mesopotamia left libraries filled with clay tablets. The Indus Valley left silence. So, what exactly did they write? Archaeologists have discovered around 4,000 inscriptions. Most appear on tiny stone seals. Others are found on pottery, copper tools, small tablets, and a handful of other objects. But almost every inscription shares one frustrating feature. They are incredibly short. Most contain only 4 to 6 symbols. Some have only one. Even the longest known inscription has fewer than 30 signs. Imagine trying to understand English if every surviving sentence were only 2 or 3 words long. No books, no letters, no paragraphs, just tiny fragments. That's exactly the problem researchers face. Because the messages are so short, there simply isn't enough material to identify grammar, sentence structure, or repeated phrases with confidence. It's like trying to solve an entire language from nothing but a few disconnected license plates. Most ancient writing systems weren't decoded because someone guessed correctly. They were decoded because someone found a key. The best example is the Rosetta Stone. It contained the exact same message written three different ways: ancient Greek, Demotic, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. Since scholars already understood Greek, they could compare the texts line by line. That breakthrough eventually unlocked the language of ancient Egypt. The Indus script has no Rosetta Stone, no bilingual inscription, no translation, no ancient dictionary, no helpful clue left behind. Imagine finding a book written in a completely unknown alphabet, with no title, no pictures, no translation, and no other copy anywhere on earth. That's where researchers have been stuck for over 100 years. Here's where the mystery becomes even stranger. Some experts aren't convinced this is writing at all. In 2004, researchers Steve Farmer, Richard Sprout, and Michael Witzel argued that these symbols might not represent language. Instead, they suggested the signs functioned more like religious symbols, family emblems, or trademarks. Think of a company logo or a national flag. They carry meaning, but they don't spell out sentences. If they're right, then there may never be anything to translate. But many other researchers strongly disagree. In 2009, computer scientist Rajesh Rao and his colleagues used statistical analysis to examine how the symbols appeared together. Real languages tend to have a balance. They aren't completely random, but they aren't perfectly predictable either. The Indus symbol showed almost exactly that same balance. Their conclusion? The script behaves much more like genuine writing than random symbols. Critics responded that statistics alone cannot prove a language exists, and that's where the debate still stands today. Even before reading the script, scholars are still arguing about whether there is a language to read. Now imagine solving one mystery, only to discover another waiting behind it. Suppose tomorrow someone proved the script really is writing. What language would it represent? Nobody knows. One of the most widely supported theories suggests it records an early Dravidian language. That family includes modern languages like Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam. Researchers such as Hiravatam Mahadevan and Finnish scholar Asko Parpola spent decades developing this idea. Others argue the language could instead be connected to early Indo Aryan languages. Still, others believe it may represent a language family that has disappeared entirely. This debate extends far beyond archaeology. Questions about the Indus civilization are closely connected with discussions about the early history of the Indian subcontinent and how different groups of people settled across the region. That is one reason why the mystery attracts so much public attention. In 2025, the Tamil Nadu government announced a $1 million reward for anyone who could successfully decipher the script, citing research suggesting possible links between Indus symbols and markings found on ancient Tamil pottery. Supporters found the idea exciting. Other historians urged caution, saying much more evidence is needed. For now, the mystery remains exactly that, a mystery. You might think artificial intelligence would solve this problem. After all, AI can translate languages, recognize faces, and beat world champions at complex games. Surely it could read a few ancient symbols. The reality is much harder. Artificial intelligence learns by studying enormous amounts of data. Modern language models train on billions of words. The Indus script offers only about 4,000 tiny inscriptions. That's far too little information. AI can identify patterns. It can group similar symbols. It can estimate which signs often appear together. But it cannot invent meanings that don't exist in the evidence. Even the world's most powerful computers cannot solve a puzzle when most of the pieces are missing. Somewhere inside these tiny symbols, there may be a merchant's receipt, a king's title, a prayer, a personal name, or perhaps something completely ordinary, written by someone who never imagined people would still be staring at their work 4,000 years later. The stone survived, the cities survived, their civilization survived, but their voice did not. Not yet. Maybe someday, a new archaeological discovery, a forgotten inscription, or a breakthrough in technology will finally unlock the meaning hidden inside these ancient symbols. Until then, the Indus Valley script remains one of humanity's greatest unsolved mysteries, and somewhere inside just a handful of symbols, an entire civilization is still waiting to speak.